Hi everyone, I'm Jaymal Lodha, a recent graduate from IIT Bombay, and I'm recording this video to talk a bit about my experience in applying to deferred MBA programs at top US business schools. Today, I want to talk a bit about my journey, the admits I've received, as well as touch a bit upon the kind of struggles that I faced and the process I followed to attain these admits in the first place. I also want to spend some time talking about my mentor and guide through the entire process, Mr. Sumeet Verlekar, and his team at Tilden Global, without whose guidance and support, none of this would be possible. I recently got admits from Wharton, Chicago Booth, as well as Kellogg Business Schools, and I've chosen to go ahead and accept the Moelis Advanced Access Admit at Wharton Business School, wherein I can join in the next 2 to 4 years after gaining sufficient work experience. A bit about myself. I've been born and raised in Mumbai, and I've lived in the city all my life. I went to Campion School in Mumbai, wherein I really went ahead and honed my leadership skills, played things like football, cricket, experienced things like elocution, debating, and that really made me want to go ahead and talk to new people, broaden my horizons, and really go ahead and explore the world, which is why I really wanted to go ahead and join a college like IIT Bombay, which really exposes you to the breadth and depth this entire country has to offer. IIT Bombay really helped me sharpen the problem-solving skills that I had. Coming from a business background and my family businesses, I've always been aware about the kind of challenges that businesses face, the kind of struggles that people running large-scale manufacturing units, etc., have. And I've always been passionate at looking to solve problems from a more quantitative and methodological sort of standpoint. And that's where my experience in IIT Bombay came through for me. At IIT Bombay, I've been an active member of the IIT Bombay Debate Society. I also served as the convener and secretary of the IIT Bombay Debate Society, wherein I represented the college at multiple international as well as national debate tournaments. I was quite successful at these, thankfully, through the support and sort of guidance from my seniors and fellow members at the society, wherein we successfully went ahead and replicated the best ever performances by an Indian team at multiple prestigious Asian debate championships. Due to my success and obviously the sort of love and support I received from the Indian debating community, I was elected as the chief judge of the Asian Debate Championship by close to 40 countries. And through this sort of medium, I was able to go ahead and really democratize access to debating by pushing for various legislations and training workshops, etc., to increase inclusivity for members of the LGBTQ plus community. Apart from this, I really pushed for access to public speaking, given how much I valued public speaking in my life and how it opened up doors of opportunity for me. I went ahead and launched Talk Masters, which at the time was India's largest student-run public speaking conference, which we ran completely free of cost, including various Supreme Court advocates, speakers, trainers, etc., to really provide cheap, free, and good quality access to public speaking training to everybody across India, irrespective of where they're from. Apart from that, I led several initiatives in my society to increase inclusivity, to also promote training for individuals coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities who might not be as comfortable and fluent in the English language. Apart from that, I was really passionate about mentorship, and I led the department academic mentorship program at IIT Bombay, wherein we pushed for several norms to really go ahead and improve the life of students, the mental health that students have at IIT Bombay. We pushed for several initiatives, one of which include a mandatory gender sensitization course to really go ahead and reduce issues like sexual harassment, people not being aware of gender biases, etc., and reduce incidents of casual sexism on campus. Apart from this, I was really passionate about consulting and about solving business problems. As I mentioned, I hail from a traditional business background, and I wanted a platform to be able to go ahead and sort of just go and combine all my skill sets and experiences. And I feel like consulting gave me that platform. In my internships, I had the opportunity to sort of intern at Tiller International Capital, a US-based financial firm, fintech consulting firm, as well as Strategy and, which was formerly known as Booz and Company. At the end of my internship at Booz and Company, I was offered an opportunity to join the firm full-time, but I chose to go ahead and accept the offer from Bain and Company to join as an associate consultant at the Mumbai office. Apart from that, I'm a really passionate reader. I love traveling. I've backpacked across Europe for 6 months, traveled 15 countries, really love watching sports. I'm a Chelsea fan. And the deferred MBA was just a very, very natural and perfect fit for me in the next step of my professional journey, which I want to talk about next. I think a common question I get from a lot of people these days is, why did I even choose to apply to a deferred MBA in the first place? I think I had three very strong reasons as to why I chose to apply for a deferred MBA. The first thing for me and the foremost thing was it allowed me to go ahead and get the kind of flexibility which I needed in the next 2 to 4 years at the onset of my professional journey to be able to go ahead and do things that I really want to do without falling into the pressure of like an MBA application or herd mentality. The deferred MBA allows me to go ahead and take these unconventional decisions, whether it is working for an NGO, starting my own startup, or literally anything of that sort, which otherwise I would have had to think twice about. The second reason for me was just the fact that it allows me to leverage the Wharton brand name to be able to open more doors and leverage any career switches that I really want, right? So, for example, if post Bain I want to go ahead and join any other sort of facet or industry, I believe the Wharton alumni network and resources really allows me to get an edge over my peers. And lastly, I think my background at IIT Bombay was something I really wanted to leverage. I believe I did decently well at IIT Bombay, winning the gold medal at IIT Bombay and topping my class as well, which meant I wanted to go ahead and use this background and use the kind of sort of head start I had over my peers to be able to get the dream business school that I really wanted to go to eventually. I think second and obviously the more important question here is, why an MBA in the first place? Coming from a traditional business background, I always knew how small businesses work, but I never really had a formal education in business. Due to my internships in consulting and even a bit of finance, what I really struggled with a little bit was having that foundational finance knowledge and understanding of business to be able to apply to large-scale business problems. And that's where an MBA would really help me take that next step in my career. I think the second important thing for me was, as somebody who really loves talking to people and really gaining international exposure, I think an MBA will really give me that experience to be able to meet peers and individuals who are really successful from across the globe and have an exchange of ideas. I believe it's possibly the best way to grow as an individual compared to just possibly having like a professional route. I really wanted to experience this, and that's why an MBA in the first place. And obviously, the last thing for me was a common sort of reason as everybody else, which is the network which I would gain from a prestigious school like Wharton, where I would really be talking and rubbing shoulders with the best in the world. And that really allows me to be able to leverage that network to achieve my long-term goals, which I think without an MBA would be much, much harder. And that's exactly why I was very clear that I wanted to go ahead and apply for an MBA. Obviously, this process isn't as straightforward. I'm sure all of you all are aware. And I've had my fair share of sort of insecurities and hesitations about applying in the first place. I think obviously the foremost of them was that I belong to an overrepresented pool of IITians who are extremely successful, extremely competent sort of individuals. And I always struggled to believe that I was better or any different from any of the other ones who applied. Coming from a consulting background did not really help in the entire traditional sort of overrepresented pool that I belong to. But I believed I had some uniqueness in terms of my goals and the fact that I was a successful debater and I wanted to give it a shot. I think second concern that I had was just the burnout that I would have from the entire process. My 4 years at IIT Bombay were pretty grueling because I was constantly juggling between my academics, extracurriculars, and personal life. And I just believed that the last semester, I wanted a bit of a cool-off period. The deferred MBA program is obviously very, very exhaustive and requires all of your attention, which was something I was a bit hesitant about. And I would possibly not even go ahead with it if not for the kind of constant motivation which Mr. Sumeet Verlekar gave me throughout the entire process. And I'm really grateful to him and his team for that. I think keeping my hesitations aside, I went ahead and sort of chose to just talk to my seniors, some of whom had successfully gotten admits from some of the most prestigious business schools in the world, and really egged me on to go ahead and apply, considering they believe my profile was worthy enough for a shot at least. And that's where I felt the need to approach a counselor, because I believe having an education counselor or an MBA specific counselor would really help me leverage all of the ingredients in my profile to truly crack the business school I was sort of worthy of in the first place. I did not want to go ahead and be clueless in the entire process and give sort of a half-hearted attempt, which is why I went ahead and looked for a counselor to aid me in this process. I think a couple of things I kept in mind when choosing which counselor to go ahead with were like one, of course, that I wanted the counselor to be extremely approachable, somebody I could just always text and who was always one call away to address any of my difficulties and challenges. I think this is something which is extremely rare with MBA counselors, given they're working with the volume of applicants, some of whom have many, many years of work experience. I think Mr. Sumeet and his team were really unique in that facet because I was always sort of allowed to just reach out to him on WhatsApp, on text, on call, and he was always like one call away, which really made this process so much easier for me. I think, secondly, it was extremely important for me to have flexibility with the counselor. I wanted somebody who would understand my other commitments, who would respect the fact that I was kind of feeling a bit burnt out from my extremely challenging years at IIT Bombay, and somebody would not sort of egg me on to do things which I was not motivated to. And I think that's where, again, like the entire Tilden team helped me a lot. They never pushed me to like sort of enforce a particular story or to write my essays in a certain way. I always had the discretion to choose the way I want to do it. There were very healthy discussions and arguments over what would best establish my sort of profile and send my goals across to the admission committee. But there was literally no pressure as to what I should go ahead with. And that was something I really, really cherished and admired with the entire Tilden team. I think lastly, obviously having an experienced team is so important. And more uniquely, because you're applying to a deferred MBA, you want a team that has experience in working with candidates for the deferred MBA and not the full-time MBA track. I think this is what set Sumeet and his team apart for me, given they had an extremely successful track record of having worked with multiple students before for the deferred MBA track specifically, which means the kind of insights they were able to provide me were really unique compared to any other counselors that I sort of spoke to before going ahead with Mr. Sumeet. And I think that's exactly where I sort of really had the head start in terms of having the right counselor which fit with my goals. And I would strongly recommend you, when applying, to also do the same. Ask yourself what are the non-negotiables that you have through the entire process, and really then go ahead and identify the right counselor for you. In terms of the process of applying now, and how the entire application process went, I'd say post my GMAT, the first thing that Sumeet and his team did at Tilden was send me an entire application document where what I did was just noted down everything that I've done in my background, where I come from, what my family does, what my goals look like, to just make a sense of what I am, where I come from, and what I want to do in life. And I think that just breaking me down or breaking my journey down into the very bare basics or the skeleton structure of it really helped us to fully dig out patterns or dig out like sort of nuances of my story, which even I was not aware about. And I thought that was a really beautiful sort of part of the entire process, where I got to know a lot about myself and the subconscious choices I was making in terms of the internships I chose, the clubs I joined, etc. I think the second part of this was, once we had chosen to go ahead and sort of formulate the entire journey that I had in my entire life, was deciding the story that I would go ahead with and the way we want to portray my goals to the admission committee. This is probably the most crucial part of the entire application process. And I think this is uniquely where the Tilden team really allowed me to go ahead and use my own version of the story to go ahead and push my narrative and never enforced anything onto me. The fact that I was able to go ahead and tell my true story was really special and important to me because I did not want to seem like I wasn't genuine enough. I think that's where the entire storyboarding and the entire essay application process comes in, where we've discussed through multiple iterations what is the best way to put my story and thoughts across, and have had multiple calls with the entire team to go ahead and scrutinize that. Apart from that, we've also obviously worked alongside on multiple other important facets of the application process. Firstly, which schools to apply. I was never under pressure to apply to all schools, and Sumeet and his team really helped me choose the kind of schools that would fit best with my goals and my personality, which is extremely important because you don't have the energy and time to apply to all 7 or 10 schools. So it's extremely important to prioritize your top 5 or top 6 schools that you want to apply to. And for me specifically, that's where Sumeet really helped me in the entire process. I think apart from that, what we also worked on together was the resume, the letters of recommendation. Who should I choose as my recommender? What notes do I share with the recommender to ensure they're able to talk about me in a detailed and more personal level, not just a very high level and generic recommendation. which wouldn't really help me much. And I think lastly, when I had interview calls from all these universities, I was really helped through interviews, sort of mock interviews, group discussions, and the Wharton TB discussion through the entire team. I think that's where the sort of end-to-end help which I received and the mentorship I received made this procedure so much more easier for me. Even considering the fact that I was completely burnt out, was traveling in Europe when applying, and none of that sort of was a hassle because I had clarity in what my expectations were in the process and what my counselor wanted from me. I think this is an extremely underrated part, having clear communication with your counselor on your goals, on your essays, on your ability to meet deadlines. That truly reduces stress between both individuals. I think lastly, I just want to talk about the entire process and what my key takeaways were. Of course, getting into these prestigious schools means the world to me. It's one of my biggest achievements so far, and it probably really helps me in my professional advancements. But most importantly, I think the biggest takeaway for me from this entire process was the fact that I was forced to sort of look within and question my decisions over the past 22 years as to why I've chosen to do what I've done. I think without this procedure or without the entire application process, I wouldn't be thinking so hard on my long-term goals, so specifically about what I want to do after my college life at Bain, post my MBA. And that's where having this clarity really now gives me the confidence that I know what I want to do in the next 4 to 5 years and have that directionality to my goals, which I did not have in the past. Which is why if you believe that you want to go ahead and do an MBA and deferred MBA makes sense for you, I would strongly urge you to apply because even if you don't get in, the entire clarity the process brings to you is absolutely worth it. Choose the right counselor to go with it. I would strongly recommend the team at Tilden Global because of their experience with deferred MBA candidates and because of the great time I had working with Sumeet. It never felt like it was like a counselor-mentee relation. It was always like two friends or two colleagues chatting. And I would strongly recommend him and his entire team. Apart from that, I wish you all the best for your applications. Please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, on Instagram or Facebook. And I would be really happy to help you crack your dream business school, just like many folks have helped me. Because as they say, it truly takes a village to get wherever you want to. And I'm really thankful to everybody who's helped me achieve whatever I have so far. And I really hope to go and continue doing exciting things in my professional and personal life. So thank you for tuning in and listening to my experience.